Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this special motion, and I thank my chairman, my vice chairman, and the other members for sacrificing not just their Saturday, but their Madaraka. For us, we had no Madaraka on this day because we sat throughout. Mr. Speaker, it's important that Kenyans and this House understands the context in which we are recommending all the nominees to be passed. First of all, Mr. Speaker, we had a very robust vetting session. It was covered live in most of the stations. We posed to the nominees all the questions that had been raised by those who had objected. And there were 3 people who objected, Dr. Gikenyi, Mr. Omondi, and Ms. Masinde. And it is their constitutional right to object. But we were satisfied that all the objections they had raised were sufficiently dealt with to our satisfaction. It is important also to note that in some cases, we actually had to recall some of the nominees for further clarification when some of the members also raised issues which looked like they were not sufficiently addressed. And they came back and answered those questions sufficiently. Mr. Speaker, let me just very briefly speak to some of this. I think the chairman has covered a lot of them. Let me start with the nominee for chair, Erastus Ethekon. It is important to note that for you to be chair of IEBC, you must be qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court under Article 166. To be a judge of the Supreme Court, you need either to have practiced for 15 years as an advocate, or been a judicial officer for 15 years, or have done something relevant in the field of law. We were satisfied that this nominee had practiced for 22 years continuously. But in addition, the work he has done over the period, including his current station as an expert in the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, in South Africa, qualifies him in any other relevant field of law. And that is why we have recommended him. Mr. Speaker, Madam Anne Deritu, objection was based on the fact that she is currently serving as the Registrar of Political Parties. Now, that was satisfied, Mr. Speaker, as explained by the chair, on the issue that the disqualification is on appointment. And this nominee produced to us a ruling by our own speaker of 4th December 2014, which has been religiously followed, that the disqualification comes at the point of appointment, and assured us that should she be successful, she will resign before appointment, and therefore it satisfied that objection. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Moses Alutalala is a man whose journey, who has had an odious educational odyssey, having qualified first as a primary school teacher with a diploma, and then rose through self-education to be one of the first parallel students in law. And his journey has been very long. But of note to us is the fact that he was admitted as an advocate in the year 2014 and was able to produce to us every practicing certificate each year since then. And that satisfies the idea of being a practitioner of at least 10 years. And that's why we were satisfied. Mr. Speaker, Mary Karen Sorobit has practiced law for 29 years. But an objection was raised that she may have been a member of the governing council of a political party, contrary to Article 88. This nominee was able to demonstrate to us that although she served as a deputy CEO in one of the political parties, she was never a member of the governing body, and went to the registrar of political parties and produced those who were members of the governing body for Jubilee since inception, and even for UDA, and therefore was able to demonstrate that she is not disqualified under that rubric. Hassan Nur Hassan is a gentleman with about 40 years in public administration as required by Section 6 of the IEBC Act. But of note was an objection that had been raised under Article 88(2)(a), that he may have vied as a governor within the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Hassan was able to demonstrate to us by reading the express provisions of the Constitution that the disqualification only applies to members of parliament and MCAs, not those who vie for president, not those who vie for governor. Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we came to the conclusion that you cannot import a disqualification into the express provision of a text. And therefore, we were able to find that he was not disqualified. The other nominee is Professor Francis Aduol. Mr. Speaker, this Professor Francis Aduol was quite impressive. He is a professor of geospatial science and engineering. Shall I repeat? He's a professor of geospatial science and engineering. And part of his specialty, his first PhD, was on the study of the earth. And he told us he can actually tell where any of you are at any one point if he gets your phone number or something like that. But of importance is the fact that one of his areas is delimitation of boundaries. Delimitation, including the focus on what weight should be placed on population, size, and even poverty. And we came to the conclusion that of all the nominees, this nominee will be very helpful to the commission when it comes to the issue of delimitation. And we are all aware that we are immensely out of time on the question of delimitation. We are also all aware that it's a very emotive matter. It was important to note that Professor Duol has worked with all the bodies that have dealt with this issue, from the Interim Independent Boundaries Commission to the Committee of Experts to the IEBC and every other body. And therefore, we had no hesitation in recommending him. Mr. Speaker, Fahima Abdallah, I think that the chairman has spoken to all that there is to speak. She ticks the three very important boxes: youth, minority, and gender, and has had at least 10 years in public administration. Mr. Speaker, this particular nominee was accompanied by her father, and one of the members had the courage to ask whether she was married or not, which was not part of our consideration. And I've heard Honorable Farah objecting that the chair is casting aspersion. But Mr. Speaker, I do not see any aspersions there, because I know Honorable Farah is allowed by religion more than one wife to get even up to the fourth. And even after getting to the fourth, I am sure Honorable Farah is allowed by religion to divorce. Talak, talak, talak. So, so it means Honorable Farah remains permanently eligible.
There is a point, Honorable Farah.
Mr. Speaker, there seems to be a conspiracy against
You seem to have
No.
you seem to have exhibited some profane behavior.
No.
In the committee.
No. The senior counsel.
What is your point of order?
My point of order is that I did not say that this lady is single. You know what I mean? So, of course, somebody said.
What is your point of order? You are compounding the allegation. Because you seem to be very excited.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Jeanette, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I want to come to the aid of Honorable Farah. Because, Mr. Speaker, as you know, the Honorable Farah is the cuckoo danger of Northern Kenya. Mr. Speaker, you know what I mean, Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
This is the real cuckoo danger, Mr. Speaker, the way you're seeing it.
Yes, Zamzam. Mama Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niwaambie Mheshimiwa Otiende Amollo na wenzake, huyu ni mtoto wetu mrembo sana, mzuri, lakini hajakuja hapo masala ya ndoa, amekuja pale kuchapa kazi. Ni mwanamke, na wanawake wakionekana sehemu, sionekane ndoa tu, wapewe nafasi yao ya kuweza kujenga taifa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Otiende Amollo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I actually agree with the Honorable Zamzam, but hasten to remind her that there is also a right to marry. So it's not excluded in the Constitution. And I am happy that Honorable Farah has sustained his excitement right from vetting to this committee. Mr. Speaker, I second.